Hello everybody, welcome back. This is JudiciousFire. I'm on the iOS server. I'm going to be looking at the top 10 base defenders in Castle Clash. These 10 heroes are used to defend our base in guild wars, in raiding scenarios, in the Blitz Gauntlet, and we depend on these heroes. These heroes are the last line of defense between us and the enemy. And if we're going to keep our bases standing upward, we've got to be able to get the best defenders that the game can provide. These 10, as well as 2 honorable mentions, I would recommend to any player in Castle Clash. Let's begin with what would have probably been number 11. He just so narrowly missed it. I have to mention him. And that hero is going to be Creation 01. It saddened me not to put Creation on the top 10 list. He is one of the strongest base defenders in terms of the damage that he puts out. He's also an auto-proc hero. He doesn't have to be directly attacked to activate his skill. With an Empower, he's able to just drill down on people from a distance repeatedly and often. I also run him with a Survival. Sometimes I like to put a little Sacred Light on him, and I use him in more of an attack scenario. Might drop him in the corner, charges up, all of a sudden starts raining down electrical strikes on enemies. The equipment, always Holy Conviction, is going to be giving him a little bit of extra survivability. I have my Creation running mostly with attack. He's designed as an attacker and really should be wielded that way. The reason he didn't make the top 10 is his low survivability. He has no real ability to stay alive against the Zeph teams, the Dove teams, the Lava teams. His damage reduction is minimal, and his survival rate is very, very low. He's not what I would call a glass cannon, but he's more of a like an aluminum cannon. Okay, he can fire off a few times, but by that third or fourth time, he's just a twisted mess of wreckage. So that is why he did not make our top 10. Let's jump into our top 10 here, and we're going to go right to number 10. And number 10 on our list is our newest addition to Castle Clash, the Occultist. Occultist is an auto-proc hero. He is going to be automatically generating his skill activation with an Empower. He is going to turn damage into healing. I also run him with a Survival sometimes, with a little bit of Sacred Light if I'm using him in a game mode where auto-procking is not a necessity. Helps to keep him alive. I find that the Sacred Light and the Survival combo works even better than a Blade Dance. Which kind of brings me to the point why he's number 10. He has such an incredible skill, but his skill is health-oriented. It provides no damage reduction to the team. You can only go so far in this game with healing. Once you get hit for more than your health pool, that one shot can take you out unless you're a damage-capped hero. So that is one restriction for Occultist. There's no damage reduction, just healing. And number 2, his limited range. You have about a 14 square range between Occultist and your other heroes. You go beyond that, and your other heroes will not receive the shield that turns damage into healing. That lack of a global skill activation is a big detriment, especially when we have such expansive bases today in Castle Clash. So if your heroes are all lumped together, he's fantastic. If they are spread out a little bit, you're going to find that he is missing a couple of them during his skill activation. Let's move on to our next hero. We have number 9, and the number 9 hero in terms of base defense is our good old buddy Laz. Laz is an incredible hero, putting out massive damage to a wide area, also freezing the enemy. He also has a very, very good survivability rate. He can take a lot of hits, even though he's lacking a damage cap and lacking the ability to heal. He can still take a heck of a punishment before he finally gives in. I have him running with a Survival and Sacred Light. I find that this combination really does keep him alive the longest. I find it works even better than the Revive option. With Revive, I find that Laz leads 3 relatively short lives. And with the Survival Sacred Light option, he tends to live a much longer and more productive and helpful life to your team, just with 1 life. A Revite is always great, too, to get his shield up immediately. I have with a Holy Conviction and all dodge. No reason for Laz to be taking damage in this game. Nothing about his skill requires that to be taking place. The only bad things about Laz, I would say, is the fact that he is missing that innate ability to heal. He's also missing any kind of damage reduction when that shield goes down. And when that shield goes down, you can see a lot of Lazes that are less than fully upgraded go out with 1 shot as soon as they're hit. So give your Laz some damage reduction. Give your Laz multiple ways to heal through pet, through talent, through teammate, through warden combination, Oracle Warden, and you're going to get a long, productive, team-oriented life out of Laz. Let's move on to our next hero. It is going to be hero number 8 on the countdown. And hero number 8 on the countdown is going to be our friend Rosaline. Rosa is going to do tremendous damage around her, area damage. She also has a lot of damage reduction built in, as well as an extremely effective healing process. One of the most effective in Castle Clash. I run her with a Survival Sacred Light combination for damage negation as well as damage reduction and an extra form of healing. I sometimes run her with the Sacred Light, and I might put as the insignia a regen or maybe even a Wicked Armor, depending on the game mode. I find that any of these combinations really, really do a great job with her. I run Holy Conviction because she needs the damage reduction as well as the boost in her healing capability. And mostly dodge. No reason for her to be getting hit. She doesn't deflect or reflect damage in this game in any way. She is a really tough hero, one of the last standing. While she doesn't have a damage cap, she will be one of those, 3 or 4 heroes still left on the board when it's all said and done. What I would say is a limitation is the fact that while she is auto-proc, it is a auto-proc that only affects those who are directly near her. So the enemy would have to be within her attack radius in order to be hit by her auto-proc. Well, if they're in her attack radius, then she's attacking them anyway. Kind of makes the auto-proc unnecessary. So it does the lack of a global attack, the lack of an ability to buff the team, the lack of an ability to help the team benefit in a defensive way. All of these things are shortcomings on Rosaline's part. She's a hero that's very much into herself. And while she is incredible at what she does, she has a limited effect on her teammates. And that's why she is at number 8. Let's move on to our next hero. We're going to move on to Cosmo. Cosmo is coming in at number 7 on the top 10 countdown of defenders in Castle Clash. Cosmo is a hero that puts out a paralyzing bubble. That bubble freezes or locks up, stuns, comatizes the enemy, keeping them in place. They're not able to attack, do anything. He also does a lot of damage inside of that bubble. I have him with a Revite for certain game modes. He is an auto-proc hero, and in fact, one of the true fine definitions of an auto-proc hero. Often with the Empower, I'll run a... with the Revite, I'll run a Unholy Pact and really get the damage going. With a Empower for base defense, I will run a Wicked Armor. And sometimes a Sacred Light, but mostly a Wicked Armor. I find that it functions as an offensive Sacred Light and really does a nice job. I do a Holy Conviction. He has no damage reduction in any of his talents. So the enchantment of Holy Conviction gives him that much needed damage reduction. I have him all attack. I use him in Archdemon, so I always run him with a full attack spread. He is an amazing hero. Great base defender. What is a limitation is the fact that he can be so easily led astray, so easily fooled. Simply bringing along 25 Guardian troops to attack a person's base with a Cosmo is all you'd need. You drop 3 or 4 troops in the corner, all of a sudden Cosmo's paralyzing bubble falls on those Guardian troops, and the rest of your heroes can go in and attack Cosmo and the rest of the team. If you just keep doing that process, the Cosmo bubble will always be falling into an area of the board where your heroes are not. So you can really lead him astray very, very quickly. What makes that challenging is the fact that there are other heroes attacking you at the same time. So it is difficult to keep that whole rhythm of Guardian troops fooling Cos while simultaneously fighting the rest of the team. So he can be a very formidable base defender. But if you have a challenger who knows what he or she is doing and is able to be quick with the Guardian troop spamming, then Cosmo can be rendered rather powerless. Let's move on to our next hero. We've got Gunslinger. A Gunslinger is one of those, she is the highest DPS hero in the game of Castle Clash. She also is a spawner, and that's what gives her that high DPS. She sends out these copters. The copters can't be stopped. Copters can't be rendered powerless in any way. The copters remove energy as well as cause damage to the enemy. They do so globally. So anywhere on the board, she's going to be hitting them. She does not need an empower. She is much like an auto-fire hero, and any talent will still provide her the ability to continually generate her copters. I have her with a survival. I also use her in Archdemon, so I use the Sunder. But as a base defender, it would always be a survival and Sacred Light combination to really give her damage reduction and survivability. I've got her with a Pyromage. Something like a Holy Conviction would be better. Pyromage is for the Archdemon. And all attack. I think something like some dodge, maybe some crit resist might make her a better base defender. But again, that is for specific mode, this specific mode of Archdemon. I would say that Gunslinger is absolutely essential in stopping the minnow proc. Any minnow that comes running in is going to get zapped or drained of energy due to Gunslinger's copters. That prevents one mode of base attack right there. So she does a great job shutting down minnows. Does a great job of picking off Ronins when they become visible, even with all her built-in damage reduction. She doesn't have a damage cap, and once the critical hits start raining in atop her head, she will eventually get taken out. So she can go out, I wouldn't say quickly, but she's usually like the fourth or third hero in your base defense team that goes out. Leaving just the damage-capped heroes. So her lack of ultimate survivability does keep her at the number 6 slot. Okay, let's move on. Let's go to number 5. And number 5 is Old Granddaddy Anubis. Anubis is an auto-proc hero. It's going to be hitting 100 enemies at a time, automatically and repeatedly. Typically with this Empower auto proc setup for base defense, I run him with a Sacred Light or a Wicked Armor. He can also go with a Survival and Sacred Light combo for a lot more durability. Even a Survival Stone Skin combo. So even a Stone Skin Sacred Light combo. All of these really do help the man. In terms of equipment, Holy Conviction for a little bit of extra damage reduction, and all attack. Anubis needs the extra attack to get his damage up in combat. His attack to 100 enemies is fantastic, yes. But it is his ability to lower the attack of the enemy by 50%. The moment that Anubis activates his skill, the offensive unit attacking your base has been rendered only 50% as powerful. That is a game changer. And Old Man Anubis, with his three revives, is one of those heroes who can stick around all the way into the end of the battle. And that 50% reduction in attack can make the difference between success and failure. It is for that reason specifically that Anubis is an amazing base defender still, and is still a very valuable and vibrant hero in Castle Clash. Let's move on to our next hero. We have Walla Walla. Walla is an auto proc hero, very much like Anubis. He is a very good teammate and pair to Anubis. I often use them together. That Empower, I will run it with a Sacred Light or a Wicked Armor. And just like with Anubis, I'll run a Survival with a Sacred Light in order to use him in a game mode where auto-procking, automatic skill activation is not as important. Walla is going to heal your team. He's going to buff your team. He's also going to debuff the enemy. So your entire team is made stronger. Your entire team is continually healed automatically. And the enemy is slowed down. So their ability to come towards you or to move squares distance on the game board, toward your town hall, for example, that is made far more difficult because of his movement speed debuff. He is using the Holy Conviction for damage reduction and mostly dodge. No reason for Walla to be taking damage in this game. I find that the Blade Dance, just kind of like with Occultist, it provides a rapid healing, but it doesn't give him any kind of damage reduction. And it certainly does not give him the ability to auto-proc in a base defense scenario. Walla is the all-around consummate teammate. He's always going to help you in any game mode that he participates in, very much like Anubis in that respect. The downside, and it's the downside for Anubis, is at this point in the game, we're starting to make a shift. IGG has created a few basically unkillable heroes if they are built properly, and those that don't have that invulnerability, that capability, they tend to get taken out pretty quickly. Walla can survive, but he has to be protected. Center of the base, he's got to have some kind of damage reduction. He's got to have the right pet, very much like Anubis. Even though Anubis has multiple lives, they can all go very, very quickly. And Walla Walla's one can be taken at a moment's notice. That is really the only thing that I would look at as a shortcoming when it comes to Walla. But if you have him on a good team, a supportive team where everybody's working in synergy with one another, then you'll find that Walla Walla can make it all the way to the end, meanwhile providing that huge attack boost to your whole team. Everybody's made stronger, everybody benefits. He's a true team player. Let's move on to our next hero. In the top 10 base defenders countdown, we have Ripper. Ripper is a hero that does many things. He does tremendous damage to the enemy. He also silences the enemy. He stops them from using their skill. He can stop certain talents from activating. He can stop certain enchantments from activating. That silence can basically shut down the attackers. Their best plans are now rendered invalid with one single silence or skill activation from Ripper. And in addition, just like Walla Walla, he has a debuffing ability. And that debuffing moves to the area of healing. The healing capability of the enemy is significantly reduced when Ripper is activating that skill. A really, really terrific hero, auto proc with the Empower. I will run him with a Wicked Armor or a Sacred Light. And just like some of the other auto proc heroes, if that's not a necessity in the game mode I'm using, and I want real strong survivability, I'll do a survival with a Sacred Light and really make sure that he stays alive. I have a Holy Conviction, and I have All Dodge. I always ran my Ripper All Dodge, and he stays alive. He does not get taken out right away. He's not squishy in any way. He can make it nearly to the end. And that is why he's ranked so high up on this list. He is the consummate base defender. His silence is unparalleled. And his ability to shut down the enemy's skill is really what's going to win you the battle. The only thing is, he is susceptible to those big crit strikes. Something can land on his head, a Dovekeeper critical, maybe repeated Saphira attacks, and all of a sudden your Ripper has been turned into lunch meat. So his propensity to die at the time when you need him the most is what makes Ripper number 4 on our, number 3 on our top 10 countdown. A hero that I try to use as often as I can in base defense, but I know that he's got to be shielded. He's got to be well cared for. He's like an expensive sports car, okay? The smallest ding or dent is going to really cost you a lot of time putting him back together. So take care of your Ripper. Go the way of dodge. And again, I found Blade Dance to be a lot of healing, but no real damage reduction or ability to keep him alive. One big shot from one of today's premier heroes, and the man was dead. So I went the route of auto proc for base defense with a lot of combinations following that, or straight up damage negation as well as Sacred Light for the damage reduction as the insignia. Okay, we're going to move on to our number 2 base defender in Castle Clash. Our number 2 base defender in Castle Clash is going to be Levanica. Levanica is an amazing dragon. He's going to paralyze the enemy. That's going to stop all movement and attacks during that paralyzation time. He's also going to be able to hit multiple targets across the board. Now, he doesn't have a global attack per se, but once he starts attacking a hero close to him, he starts bringing down those strikes globally. So he is able to hit multiple heroes simultaneously and kill them off. He still hits hard, and his damage cap is one of the best in the game, but there is a limitation. There is a 2-second time period when that damage cap goes away, and it is during that time when the man can be one-shotted. I've found 2 great setups. Blade Dance for him, because he has one of the highest, if not the highest, innate dodge rates in the game. Blade Dance really is a nice pairing with him. And it's also going to give him that healing that he really needs. The heroes with a damage cap of any kind really do benefit from talents like Stealth, from talents like Blade Dance or enchantments like Healing Ritual, because they're going to be taking incremental damage for the most part, and they need that healing to jack their health back up. So Blade Dance really works well with him, or I run a Survival and Sacred Light combination to really give him a lot of damage reduction. The Blade Dance, I'm always running some kind of Sacred Light on this guy, so Blade Dance and Sacred Light. It's for those 2 seconds when the damage cap drops. I run Holy Conviction. Again, you need the damage reduction during those 2 seconds of vulnerability. And I have All Attack. All Attack on the man because I run him for Archdemon. He would run better with Blade Dance if I had a higher dodge rate, but I'm not really too interested. He does a fine job for me. He's never let me down. I would say that his only shortcoming, and it's just one small thing, it is that 2-second reduction in his damage cap. That disappearance of his damage cap can leave him susceptible to being taken out with a one-shot. And while it doesn't happen often, it can happen, and it is something that you got to keep in the back of your mind. Okay, we're going to go to our number one, but before we do, I'm going to throw an honorable mention in. The honorable mention is one that I'm sure I'm going to be asked, hey, why didn't you put this hero on the list? I put the hero in as an honorable mention because there are specific circumstances when the hero performs well defensively and others when the hero is actually detrimental to you from a defensive standpoint. And that hero, the honorable mention, is going to be Dovekeeper. Dove, I run with a Empower only for HBM AJ. I'm always playing HBM AJ. But typically I would be running a Survival. You don't really want to run an Empower on Dovekeeper except for 1 or 2 very, very specific computer-based game modes. The Survival paired up with a Stealth is fantastic. It's going to allow her to put out these Love Doves and do massive damage to the enemy. Spawning, globally attacking. She's got a built-in damage cap. That damage cap is fixed and has no drop-off or reduction time, no cooldown. That damage cap will never cease. So she is a wonderful hero for something like a Survival. You could run a Brute Force on her, a Vigorous Fury, a Sharpen, Unholy Pact. You can build Doves so many different ways. The list is very, very lengthy. But the Survival and Stealth I find to be her longest living build. It makes her nearly invulnerable if she has a healing pet of some kind and a good team beside her. I have the Healing Ritual on her. She's all attack. I use her just for attack, really. And that is why the Healing Ritual is always going to be healing her up. And traits, I have mostly all accuracy. In today's high dodge game, you need something to counteract that. I was tired of missing with my Dove. Now I don't miss. The strikes land true each and every time. She is one of the best heroes in the game in a general sense. But for base defense, she only gets the honorable mention because I would only use her against a computer opponent. If you use her against a human opponent, you're going to find that human opponents will stack or sit on her Love Doves. The Love Doves don't do enough damage to actually kill a maxed out, fully upgraded hero. So the hero just ends up hitting the Love Dove again and again and again. That eventually causes the hero's skill to function, and that repeated skill activation ends up killing all of your heroes that are on base defending. So it is the use, or I should say misuse, of her Love Doves by a human opponent who has fully upgraded heroes and is knowledgeable about the game. It is that misuse of those Love Doves that really makes her a very dangerous hero to be using in a defensive scenario. I would not ever recommend using Dovekeeper defensively. I think that Dovekeeper up into a certain point in the game is going to be a great defender, because you're not facing fully upgraded heroes. But once you get to that higher level of breakthrough, where the heroes can just sit and stack on her doves, you're going to find that your entire base gets wiped out just because people are able to stack on her love doves. So, in the computer modes user, definitely highly recommended, but not against human attackers. That brings us to our final hero in the top 10 Castle Clash Base Defenders Heroes Countdown List. And the winner is number 1 base defender in CC, the new dragon Saphira. Saphira is a powerhouse. He's got a damage cap very similar to Dovekeeper's. It never shuts down. It never cools down. It never shuts off. He's got the ability to do global damage. He does fast, repeated damage. He is an auto-proc hero with the Empower. He is able to activate that skill repeatedly, automatically, with a survival and say a Empower. He's on my base right now. He's got damage negation. He's got the ability to heal and auto-proc. Run this guy so many different ways. Want to run him Empower and then with a Sharpen, get his crit and his accuracy up. Run him with a Brute Force, now massive crit damage. You can run him with a Survival and Stealth, where he becomes basically invulnerable. It would take a full hero team and a lot of silencing and a lot of pets and a lot of luck and a lot of good RNG, and then finally you could take him down. But with that survival stealth combo, as well as a healing pet like Fennec Pet or Rudolph, the man becomes nearly unstoppable, an unstoppable force. It is very hard to find a weakness in terms of his ability to defend. I would only say that perhaps the limited selection of builds that can work with Saphira would really be his only weakness. It would be great if we had the full selection of talents, insignias, enchantments, even traits to choose from, but some of them can be easily wasted on Saphira. The man's damage reduction cannot be changed in any way other than lowering his damage cap through something like a Flame Guard or a Victory Lunge. His damage, his attack, cannot be boosted in the normal way, except to bring up his base damage, his base attack, or to give him the ability to crit more often or for higher amounts. So you have to be careful about how you build him, but if you build him the right way, you're going to find that he is just indispensable. I put the healing ritual on him. The man's always attacking, so now he's always healing. And because he takes incremental damage, really his health just doesn't go down. And I have mostly all accuracy. I was running more crit damage on him before, but with all, just like with Dove, with all of the high dodge heroes in this game, I needed to counterbalance that with a higher accuracy rate on my heroes. I hope that this list has been helpful in some way. I'm often asked the question, hey, who do you use on your Guild Wars base defense team? Who do you use for base defense in general? I use the heroes that are on this top 10 list. I throw Creation in there as the honorable mention number 11 because I also will use him as well, but I will find on the majority of occasions he goes out pretty quickly. The others are tried and true, tested and approved. They are the ones that, in some form or combination, they are the ones that are creating that line of defense to try to keep our buildings up here in Castle Clash and to keep our bases safe in today's game. I thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy your clashing. I'll check you next time. All right, bye bye.